Welcome, everyone. We're very grateful to book Maryna Burushkina with us today. She is an expert in digital advertising, multi-channel advertising. She's CEO of her own company that's built an amazing tool, Growth Channel, to be able to allow you to self-serve advertising to multi-channel. It's an awesome tool. You need to check it out, where you can upload your advertising and you can do video, you can do audio, you can do digital ads. And she's here to share her thoughts on AI, multi-channel advertising. We are so glad to have her. I know she's super busy. She's got done speaking to a large audience in another event. And Marina, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Steven. I'm excited to be here and share some of my thoughts with you all.
Very good. Well, tell us a little bit about the path you took because the audience may not know you, the ones listening today and the ones that are going to be listening, about your path to be the CEO of Growth Channel and being an expert in digital advertising. How did you get here? What path did you take?
Yeah, great question. So, luckily enough, I got experience in all the different components of that you can go with. So, I started off with an enterprise. I was building digital transformation programs for Allianz Insurance Global and also Philips Electronics, all the way from their headquarter offices in Europe. Also had my own media holding and was leading the agency operations there for over a decade, which I also sold about 4 years ago now, and also was advising a number of startups on their marketing activities and growth hacking, and then decided to build my own startup. So this is what I'm doing right now. So pretty diverse background, but really excited about what I'm doing. I was also getting my degree in marketing and advertising, so it's also the thing that I've known altogether. So don't really know much about many other topics like history or geography, but I'm pretty specific on marketing and ads.
Oh, you are. You're one of the best I know, and that's we're looking forward to this session. We're going to divide the segment this into four different areas of conversation. The first one we're going to get into is the one that's really hot right now, generative AI and content creation. I know Google's launching their new release that's going to now put their AI responses above everybody else's, and that'll be really interesting. But to start out, can you elaborate on how generative AI like ChatGPT and others are revolutionizing content creation in digital marketing?
Yeah, great question. And it's a huge topic on its own, of course. So I'm not going to dive too deep into it. But on a nutshell, what we're seeing among a lot of our advertisers, they're able to scale and launch their ads much quicker because they're able to create a multitude of different ad copies and test them out to really identify the best performers faster. They're able to scale with their ad creation. Tools like Ad Creative AI, you must probably heard of it. It's pretty cool as well these days. Okay, nothing is perfect if you're a brand marketer, especially, or really brand builder. But at the same time, if you've got the very lean team, small team, and you need to get things quick, fast, and in a sufficient manner, tools like this can be really helpful. So you must probably want to use generative AI for things like, or be very careful with like external research or like secondary data. But if you're looking to find information within a very specific brief or get some very specific task done using Gen AI, those are the things that can be very well automated and optimized.
You've seen probably several clients do this. What is like the best practice to use AI to create your ad? Is it, I don't know if you have a playbook of how you suggest using AI. Is it or creating like some thoughts, entering the prompts, or you generate the images too? What is the best strategy you use or you've seen clients use to do that?
Yeah. So the wrong way of doing it is prompting, give me an ad copy to promote a product. That's most probably the worst way you would do it. What we recommend is usually taking it a step back and really putting as much information as possible into the prompt to be more specific with what you need as an output. That should include the channel you're going to generate the copy for, what's the minimum, maximum kind of character count or word count that you want to consider. Is there a title, headline, short description? What is exactly the format? Very important to consider your target audience, but also the brand, tone of voice, all of those brand guidelines that may be important. And yeah, those are really the most important things that I would put in there. So it's okay to be long, and you can most probably automate and create your own templates. So then when the next ad copy needs to be generated, you can be much faster in that. But yeah, overall, I would say the more specific you are, the better the output.
Have you seen generated ads work as well as the non-AI generated ads? Are you what kind of how are they working? How are clients doing with those?
Yeah, so we usually recommend and give a disclaimer as well to make sure that you actually proof and edit the ads before they go live. So if you are generating ad copy or images or whatever you're doing there with AI, just make sure you edit and review it prior to launching it, because AI is not perfect. First, it may actually give you wrong information, which is most probably the biggest problem with it. Two is it's very easy these days to even like spot AI generated content. So you don't want to be one of those people like, hey, this was definitely AI generated kind of thing. So you definitely want to sound like your own brand. You want to edit it, give it more of this human input before you actually launch them. And when you're working with a huge scale, I understand it may be a little bit difficult, but also having a person or so review it quickly can still save a lot of time if you're generating like thousands of those ad copies.
Yeah. No, that's really good feedback. Any has allowed us to customize content and personalize content and to diverse audiences. Do you had experienced this? Have you seen this work effectively with regards to personalization and using AI?
Yes, with programmatic advertising in particular, you can, of course, like really dive deeper into specific microsegments, we call them. So for different microsegments, you can deploy programmatically, so automatically, basically, all those very personalized creatives and content as well. So you don't really need to worry to manually map everything out yourself anymore these days. So you can also give a pretty good reliability for the automation to do that for you, as long as you define more of the path and the rules and you have decent size segments. By decent size segments, more than 1,000. So if you're targeting maybe 100 people per segment, your ads, yes, it's most probably too small for the scale. But if it's 1,000 or more, there should be enough data there with enrichment, etc., to really target them with more personalized content as well. And on that note of personalization and audiences, etc., at Growth Channel, we also do persona generation using AI. So you can look into the third-party audience segments. You can look into your first-party audience segments. We really get those persona profiles right there within just a few seconds to really understand them before you even go and generate that ad copy.
Now, I explained growth channel a lot, and I'm grateful you mentioned it a little bit in the intro, but can you explain to us what growth channel is doing and from a product perspective, what does the tool provide? And I know you're incorporating different AI into it as well, so it might be a good time to explain it right now.
Yeah, definitely. So with Growth Channel, we are helping advertisers reach niche audiences at scale. What we mean by that is that you can really narrow down your targeting. So instead of going broad, we go narrow. That's one of the things of how we are different. We help you understand better those persona profiles and narrow them down as much as necessary. And then you can reach them on pretty much any digital channel, being it whenever they listen to Spotify or watch their favorite show on Netflix or pass by a digital billboard, go to supermarket or anything of that nature.
And it's a simple fee, it's a simple monthly cost you pay, and then you could go in, create your channel, add your advertising, and then run your campaigns, track your metrics, right?
The dashboard is pretty intuitive. If you are, let's say, a full service marketing department or agency, usually you would start by figuring out, okay, who we're going to target. Let's build some persona profiles. And then you can activate those personas with programmatic advertising on the platform as well. Just upload your ads and then they go live very shortly. You'll see all the detailed and advanced reporting. And with Growth Channel, we have 3 AI components built in. So we have generative AI for persona creation and marketing planning. That's the first one that we deployed 4 years ago when we just started. The second one is our audience graph. And this is how we are able to identify people and devices representing the actual personas that you built. So you can then target them across all those different channels. And the third one is our deep learning engine for optimization across all those channels, because you may not know, hey, which channel will be performing best for me? Is my audience on, I don't know, on CNN? Or are they more of a Fox audience? Or maybe they're watching Roku or whatever. Maybe I don't know yet. Okay, let's run some ads to figure this out. And then you can actually track and see what performs best, but then our platform also based on the KPIs and objectives of specific campaigns will automatically allocate the resources and the budget to the ones that are performing best to achieve specific goals.
Yeah, and going into the next segment, which has to do with you just mentioned, can you explain a little bit about this, the phasing out of cookies in the advertising world, and then how do you see AI shaping the future of audience tracking and engagement? Because we just talked about personas tracking and what your system does, but it will do really well as these cookies get phased out. But explain that a little bit to the audience, and then how AI is helping that.
Yeah, definitely. The road to getting cookies go away there's quite a timeline there. I even have a slide for it for some of my sessions, but not today. In general, it's been already a few years that we've been preparing. The whole advertising world has been preparing for it. And there are a number of strategies you can consider to still reach the very important personas and target audience at scale. So the first one is really prioritize your own first party data. I think that's most probably the most kind of common topic that everyone talks about, right? Make sure you invest in content, make sure you invest in those lead forms, etc. So really get more of your first party data. For first party data, you can also then identify lookalike audiences, of course. So that's more standard way of everyone talking about. The second one is contextual. Contextual is we're talking right now about all these topics, and then an hour later on our Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, whatever you use there, you'll see ads about exactly what we're talking about right now. So that's contextual. That's the topics that we engage with, what we read, what we listen, and it's personalized advertising based on that content. And there are also some other new strategies which are very innovative. Some of our partners, for example, at Distillery, they have deployed this amazing new feature that predicts the next site and the next time your ideal customer is going to visit that specific placement to locate your ad and display your ad targeting there. So it's predicting the next word that while we type our email, predicting the next site and the time that you're going to be on that site to really show your ad there. So that's another option. And then there are some geolocation options as well, where you can target people based on specific places they go to, or maybe events they have attended in the past, or maybe go there in the future. So there are lots of strategies out there that can be considered.
Now, can you discuss a little bit how audiences can discuss the role of audience graphs in achieving micro-targeting and the different components you were mentioned without compromising privacy? Because that might be a concern to a lot of people. Cookies are going away, but now there's all these other ways to target them and knowing where they're going to go, when. But how can we do that without compromising privacy?
Yeah, great question. With audience graphs and a lot of other things, so most of these advertiser IDs are anonymized. So we don't actually know, hey, this is Steven or Maryna talking. They're about a specific topic. Let's target them. But it's more about, hey, users ABCXYZ123 and another one of that nature are in this pool. Let's target them because they meet our target profile. So it's already pretty anonymized, I would say. Although, of course, in the US in particular, there are still a few kind of areas that are a little bit different than what some of our advertisers have in Europe with GDPR. So there are some limitations outside of the US that are still here that we can use for targeting, for example, targeting past event attendees or some things like that, which is very powerful strategy for now, but we don't know how much longer we'll keep it. Last year, for example, we could go back 3 days or more up to 12 months. Right now, it's already 10 days. Maybe next year we won't have that strategy altogether. We don't know. So there's more and more privacy limitations, but there are still lots of opportunities for very detailed targeting while it's being anonymized.
And you make a good point. Things are changing all the time. Laws are changing. How does a marketer keep up with all this change in what they can do, what packages now are available for them to do? What is the best way you recommend for that to happen?
Definitely like subscribe to eMarketer, subscribe to a few different resources, attend event like this. Subscribe to Growth Channel newsletter. We send every 2 weeks a newsletter as well with some of the latest news. There are lots of communities out there that share a lot of the latest trends. So definitely like attending events like this, subscribing to a few of the thought leaders in the space could be a good way to just keep your mind up to date with all the changes that are coming together.
Now, you do a pretty good job with your services side, but if when marketers come to you and they may not have a good understanding of all the possibilities now with cookies going away and AI and different ways of targeting, do you have a service or consultation that they can participate in to direct them more on what they should do and where should they invest their time and dollars?
Yeah, so we have an enterprise option, which includes the dedicated account management and team as well, that gives more also guidance for the accounts that maybe have limited resources or maybe just starting in their programmatic journey, like scaling from Google and Facebook ads. We have quite a number of those that maybe hit the roadblock with the traditional social and search and want to scale into other channels to really continue growing their companies. And there are lots of nitty gritties like this. So yeah, a lot of those are on the enterprise accounts.
Okay, sounds good. And what does a consultation look like there? Like you meet and then you help create a strategy plan. What's the kind of how do you create that playbook for them if they're interested in doing that?
Yeah, so we have started at $1,500 dollars a month. It depends a lot as well on what's the ad spend like, and is there any custom integration that you need or anything of that nature, or is it more like straightforward? Then it's just 1,500 a month for that management, and there's no commitment for a long term, so you can cancel anytime as well. So it's months to months.
Very good. And you have a lot of expert teams in their staff. Now, one thing that was troubling to marketers potentially is saying, if I don't start using AI powered tools, if I don't start using these new technologies, I'm going to get left behind. What What's your opinion? What is your advice to those marketers that are slow to jump into the AI and looking for new forms of advertising that could have better results?
Yeah, so there are pros and cons everywhere. As a digital marketer myself, I really like innovation. So I think if I stop educating myself, we'll most probably not keep up with the rest of the folks out there. So same, hey, if you're a digital marketer, you have to keep up with everything that's happening and utilize those tools. There are lots of marketers out there, right? So you definitely want to make sure that you stay competitive in the space to bring more value to your clients. But some folks are not focusing too much on digital and maybe more on the traditional side. So maybe, let's say you're in traditional print, digital, like out of home, not digital, like traditional print out of home or like radio ads or something like this. Even there, like there are lots of advancements that are happening. So you definitely need to consider, even if you like continue doing things the way you used to do, there's such a huge shift right now in the market. Even like radio is right now programmatic. Even we have linear TV already, and there is opportunity to do print out of home as well with DSPs like AdQuick and things like this. So there is the market is just changing all the time. So I think if you want to grow, you definitely need to stay aware. But if you're like, oh, I'm just like okay where I am kind of thing, and I want to go retire maybe next year, then okay, maybe it's not a priority in that case.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. No, thanks for sharing that. Now, jumping on to the next segment, we're talking about multi-channel with AI. In a world where there's overwhelming number of channels to advertise, how can AI help marketers choose the right ones for their campaigns?
Yeah. So the first question I usually ask any of our advertisers when I talk to them, what's your objective? And you'll be surprised, not everyone knows what it is, or like everything,
Yeah.
or I don't know yet. That's very common response. So definitely need to figure out what is exactly I want to achieve from this campaign. If you know the answer, get to the answer of that first. Once you know the answer, it'll be much easier for you to identify the channels and the scope, etc. For example, hey, I want conversions from that specific audience. Great. Where does your audience hang out? Like, where do they spend their time online? Let's learn about them. Okay, maybe they're pretty heavily on this, I don't know, 25 channels or 10 channels. Let's pick the top three, test it out, see if it works. If it does, double down, maybe add another 2 channels at a time to test it out. And then you can identify those channels. Or if you want to go massive, like I'm promoting, I don't know, another chocolate, and there are like so many people who like chocolate, very generic products, you may want to do a bigger campaign in that case, like a consumer campaign, because everyone loves chocolate. And so there is also lots of competition. So in that case, you may want to also lean on some autonomous optimization within specific scope. So you still want to define that audience more or less, your budget, etc., and the objective. And then you can also let the autonomous advertising optimization to happen to help you out. Because if the campaign is at the massive scale, it will be hard to do those little tests. So it really depends on how big is the campaign as well.
Have you seen tools, AI tools that can help you define those campaigns and reduce the guessing as well as increasing the results?
Yeah, you should definitely use Growth Channel, of course. I'm a little bit biased here, but once you generate your personas, our AI will actually also tell you on which channels the audience is spending most of their times on. But also, I suggest you talk with your customers and figure some of that out from them. Surveys, interviews, focus groups. If you have a customer data platform or CRM, you can check that as well in terms of like where most of the referrals are coming from. That's like valuable information, really like invest in your analytics stack. And I think most companies have Google Analytics, maybe they have a CRM, but very few have invested in having a CDP, a customer data platform. If you don't have a CDP, I would really consider getting that as soon as possible because it provides so much valuable information in terms of all the different touch points that happens before the conversion happens, which is what Google tells you, of course. But what are all the other channels that audience interacts with that may sign up on your website for a newsletter, request demo, purchase a product, etc. So definitely consider that.
And for those, any suggestions on CDPs that you recommend people buy or any
Yeah,
vendors that you
so there
prefer?
are so many options out there.
Yeah.
They're cheap and they're more expensive. So we use a segment as a startup in specific categories. We're able to also get some credits in the first year. So I would say if you work at a like a tech startup, you may get some credits for a certain time period with segment. So you may consider it. There are some other good ones like Telium, more expensive, more advanced, but very good option as well. There are many different other options, also more cost effective options, especially for e-commerce brands. I would just search for it and read reviews, especially that could also help. And if you're on a tight budget, if you're a small business or something like this, and really want to still invest in customer analytics, you may also browse some like lifetime deals on sites like AppSumo and read reviews before you purchase anything. So to make sure you actually purchase good stuff.
Sounds great. Now, examples of companies or customers who've used AI to pick and optimize the channels they do, especially you have growth channel. How, ho any success stories that you could share with us of how they were able to optimize their campaigns by using AI, to pick better channels for their ads?
Yeah, definitely. We actually published last month this great case study with one of the e-commerce brands. They were initially just advertising on search and social, so like Google, Facebook, TikTok, and things like that. And they were looking for more channels because they wanted to increase the sales. Very traditional use case. The goal in that case is ROAS, so return on ad spend. So while we wanted, of course, to bring more conversions, we were actually looking at, hey, is our revenue making sense from the ad spend when we compare that? So in their case, we were able to drastically increase really the purchases, but also we were able to bring down the CPA and increase those ROAS. So with ROAS, we have achieved 21x, and we also increased it by 70%. And every single month, we're improving the results by at least 9% as well. So there's amazing case study. You can also find it on our website, and if you want to dive deeper into that specific use case.
Thanks for sharing that, and we recommend people to go see that case study. And what's the website? Growthchannel.com under case study section, probably, or
Yeah, so
blogs?
as you scroll down, yeah, as you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see the case study there and you can click the button to read the details.
One more you touched on this before. What best practices would you recommend for integrating AI into channel strategy to enhance customer experience? Any recommendations there? And you could go deep you could dive into this a little bit more from your previous question answers, but any best practices you have where people have used AI to improve their channel strategy and customer experience?
Yeah. So I would just usually step back and analyze first and look at the numbers. So that's why investing in analytics is important. Figure out where is the inefficiency first. I would just either download the data or build it like a dashboard if you don't have one yet to really look at, hey, where do we have gaps? Like maybe Google search is really doing great. Maybe there's much more that we can do there, right? But hey, maybe by looking at Instagram, for example, hey, our numbers just don't make sense. This is a terrible performance or whatever. How can we do better? Yes. If it takes also much time to produce the creatives, if and you still don't see the results, I'm just making something up, of course, just to give you an example. Yes, generate those more images, create variations for A/B tests, test them out so you can save time and then also see if that has a positive impact on conversions. You can also, in that case, even maybe consider custom audiences, right? Maybe the audience targeting is wrong. Are we reaching the wrong people from Instagram? Maybe they're coming to the site but not actually buying stuff. That's more of a targeting issue than maybe a creative issue. So really look in deeper into your analytics to assess where the gaps are and then consider AI potentially to help you optimize on those specific gaps. You don't need to implement AI just because it's hot. You need to implement AI if it can help you in your current operations. So definitely consider that as a priority.
No, thanks for sharing that. I know another part has been optimizing web content. So in your customer experience for the landing pages, to be able to create content to optimize those landing pages. Have you seen customers try that on content creation, website optimization? Have you seen any tools that make that easier to do as well?
Yeah, and there are lots of tools out there, of course. Most of them still sit on top of everything that you can access anyway. So ChatGPT, you can access it directly. You don't necessarily need to spend money on other subscriptions. But yes, then you need to build your own prompts, of course. Jasper has been pretty successful in like templating the prompts to make it easier for generating the more personalized output. I tested it's decent, but as I mentioned earlier, like you still really want to make sure you edit it, the final output, and really finalize it before you use it. It's good for generating a draft, giving you ideas, maybe scaling the tests, but it's not very good at just making everything on its own. So definitely don't rely on it too much, especially when you don't have first party data as an input. And by first party data, hey, here's a table, organize the data or something like this, right? So if you're relying for it to actually produce something, definitely don't rely 100% and really step back and analyze and review everything.
That's good advice, and that I think that's a common thread that people need to keep checking the AI results and not just going for it. It's probably too tempting just to go for it without checking, but it's not always right. Let's move on. Attribution and scaling beyond search and social. Attribution remains a challenge for many marketers. How is AI changing the game both on online and offline attribution?
Yeah, so attribution is a very important topic also at Growth Channel. One of the things that we are very proud of is that we're also able to connect the online and offline world. So we can actually pinpoint, let's say, if you want to bring people to your store, after seeing the ad, did they actually go to your store? Or did they visit the site first and then go to your store? Or maybe they went to the store but actually bought online afterwards. So things like this, so you can really identify those journeys. It's really important to focus on that if you have a physical location, being it, let's say, maybe you have a franchise or maybe you have a brick and mortar location or an office or whatever that is. So you really want to invest in the tools that have that attribution if you're looking for people to actually come to the location. And for online attribution, I would say a lot of the tools are doing pretty good job with like pixel tracking. But at the same time, one of the common topics again is that, hey, why Facebook tells me I have 20 conversion and Google only reports 3 conversions out of Facebook. You also need to consider that Google only considers the last touch point. So it won't tell you, and Facebook will consider all the people that it brought. So there are also those discrepancies to consider. So yeah, great topic. There's no one right answer for anything, but definitely need to educate yourself about all those different components in your strategy.
And can you talk a little bit about the importance of scaling advertising efforts outside of traditional search and social platforms? It's a core benefit of your platform, but tell us a little bit about those benefits.
Yeah, so with programmatic advertising, we rarely recommend it to someone who maybe hasn't done any ads before on like traditional social and search platforms, but it's a great tool for really getting to the next level. Let's say I only have my keywords only have this many searches a week. I want more conversions, I want more purchases. So you really want, if you're relying a lot on PPC for really like getting sales or getting conversions in place, leads, etc., and you are really hitting that roadblock on other channels, which are more traditional in niche nature, you may want to consider programmatic as an option. And with Growth Channel, one of the best use cases is we integrate all the main players inside the programmatic world, being it data companies to help you target the right people, but also the demand partners to help you get the right scale on pretty any channel, any publisher out there globally. And that's why a lot of advertisers choose Growth Channel for programmatic.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest benefits. You make it very easy to scale beyond traditional and social platforms. How A question about AI on that same kind of vein. How does AI facilitate reaching niche audiences or conducting micro targeting at scale? Have you been able to see that happen?
Yeah, definitely. So let's say you have a first party audience pool of people who maybe recently purchased specific products or maybe visited your site. They may be all different types of people. So maybe some of them are, I don't know, single moms who are staying and working at home. Maybe another segment of families without kids with dogs. And maybe another third one is, I don't know, maybe new phone buyers or something like this. So there are all three different people, and you may want to personalize the message. And let's say you sell insurance or something like this. You may want to personalize the message into those three different segments. So you definitely want to enrich the audiences that you already know about to learn more about them, things like I just mentioned, and then segment them. So then you can then personalize that messaging, that creative, that video that you're going to be running to reach them on the channels that you want to implement in your strategy.
And from Is there any AI tools that you recommend besides ChatGPT, growth channels, built-in AI practices that you recommend that the audience investigate and use to improve their targeting, micro-targeting, multi-channel ads that we may not have talked about so far?
Yes, for example, smaller marketing teams usually ask me, hey, we don't have a dedicated designer in a team. How shall we go about creating some banners? I usually recommend using either Canva or Ad Creative AI. So those are great tools to get something quick going and test things out at scale. Other options that we also is sometimes Versado. They really focus on ad creative optimization and really AI for creatives. We don't do much with creative at Growth Channel, but there are so many other great tools out there. There are like literally thousands of tools out there. So definitely consider those. JustPart is pretty decent with their like prompt architecture. So if you're creating like lots of blog posts, ad copies, email copies, like a lot, then you may want to consider it. And yeah, so those are most probably some of the tools. I definitely will prioritize having a CRM and a CDP, or if you have two in one, that's even better, to really make sure you capture those contacts and grow your first party data. And I did mention today also Distillery with their predictive targeting. So that may be a good option as well for audience data and activation.
No, thanks for sharing those your tech stack per se. And then from a little bit about as audiences looking at attribution. That's my last question in this area. What are some of the best practices you observed for leveraging AI to enhance attribution accuracy and marketing ROI? I think this is I've asked a lot of AI questions since it's the topic, but what are some of the best practices you observed besides the ones you already mentioned so far? Any that you'd like to
Yeah.
share?
Yeah, so we have this amazing case study with Automotive Group. They had multiple locations, but I'll just talk a little bit about the strategy and how we used AI for it. So they wanted to reach and bring buyers to their automotive stores. It's an auto care chain. So our strategy was really to target people who went to competitors' stores, auto stores, who live in the neighborhood of 10 miles who haven't been yet to our client's store in the past 12 months. So that was one of the strategies we were using. The second one was people who haven't been to the client store in the last 30 days, but was there in the past 12 months. So basically a reactivation kind of campaign. And the third one was people who engaged with the brand outside of their store location visits. So basically knows about the brand, but hasn't actually went to the store. And all of them who live in a specific radius. So those were the three targeting strategies. And their CPA before starting a campaign with us was over $100. And just after 60 days of the first campaign launch, we reached it down to $3. So from $100 to $3. And in the consecutive flights, we went below 50 cent. So the final CPA is point 30 something cent. I don't remember the exact number, but overall significantly decreased the cost per acquisition down to the actual store visitor by running the campaigns like this.
That is a great case study, and we appreciate you sharing so much. We've covered AI in content, AI in a post-cookie world, navigating multi-channel with AI, attribution with AI, and the benefits that customers can reach. We discussed a tech stack. Any other parting advice you want to leave with the audience as they're contemplating multi-channel advertising, content creation, AI?
Yeah, so I think the main thing I would say marketing hasn't really changed as a subject, but we just have more tools in our arsenal to really get more done more efficiently and at scale. So I would not just rely on AI as, hey, everything, the whole world has changed or everything has changed. Yes, it changed, but use it as a tool to really help you be more efficient, get more things done, get more ad copies out there, maybe test more creatives faster and things like this. But it hasn't really changed like the brand fundamentals. It hasn't changed the way we make decisions around specific channels. It hasn't changed the way we define our target audience or how we talk to our audience necessarily. So a lot of those things still stay. So definitely consider AI as a tool and just make use of it so you can stay competitive.
You're totally right. AI, the world hasn't changed. Marketing's still the same. More tools, a little more complexity for people to get into it, and automation plus AI. So it's just getting better. We're improving in a way, and having experts like yourself, growth channel to help guide clients through that, and those are needing help are amazing resources. You are always a such a great speaker, so knowledgeable in this topic. You have a great breadth of knowledge as well as depth in all these areas that can help companies improve and scale their digital advertising, programmatic advertising. We appreciate Marina for you being here. We appreciate taking time. You're very busy. You're running a very successful company. We thank the audience. Please feel free to reach out to Marina if you have any questions. Let her know. And for those listening, we thank you for listening as well. Marina, thank you very much for participating.
Steven, hope everyone enjoyed today's session. Have a great day.